My name is Shara Chilcote, and I am a junior at North Carolina Wesleyan College. I'm taking an introductory management course and was tasked with choosing one of our 16 chapters to do some research on. In my reading, I decided that the area of most interest to me was corporate ethics. I really wanted to know what corporate social responsibility was, what it meant for future managers, and to examine a couple of ongoing cases of issues where people haven't been responsible socially to see what happened in those instances. Our textbook loosely defines corporate social responsibility as decision-making and planning that considers the 3 Ps: people, profit, and planet. Anyone who is interested in social and ethical responsibility has heard these 3 great buzzwords, but they don't really offer much insight into what role a manager plays in corporate social responsibility. It was with that question that I began my research. In the December 2017 edition of the Journal of Business Ethics, I found an article by Dr. Chio Lee of Wayne State University and Dr. Seong Cho of Oakland University, who are both accounting professors. The article, entitled Managerial Efficiency, Corporate Social Performance, and Corporate Financial Performance, defines corporate social responsibility and outlays how managerial efficiency is positively associated with corporate social performance and the subsequent effects of an effective and ethical corporate social policy. Without using the terms people, planet, and profit, they show how managers, when provided with adequate resources and a positive environment that promotes ethical decisions, can have an efficient and effective outcome on the areas covered by the 3 Ps. Let's start with the first group, people. Managers through day-to-day operations affect not only their subordinates and fellow managers, but also the public perception of an organization. And we all know that media and public relations are extremely important to an organization. Research shows that an effective socially responsible program has a positive effect on customer perception, and that people who view an organization as socially responsible tend to reward the organization with their patronage. People feel better about shopping at places or through companies that are showing some form of ethical and social responsibility. Furthermore, employees of an organization, both the managers and the rank and file, benefit from having a positive ethical environment within an organization. They have a tendency to exhibit greater organizational behavior, which are behaviors that show a commitment to the organization and often lead them to go above and beyond, something that they take pride in. They also tend to perform at higher levels when they feel that they are serving a greater good, and they overall feel greater job satisfaction. Now, all of these are important for the people that are working there, but they're also important for the public because as representatives of an organization, they are the face that the public sees, these people that they deal with that are employees. And happy employees are always better at dealing with people. Now, all of this results in a lower employee turnover usually. And this clearly shows that the people are indeed an important consideration when an organization designs and implements programs, and that there is a morale booster as well as an outside benefit to having responsible programs in place. The second of our 3 Ps is the planet. And I feel like this is really the most self-explanatory group to think about. We all know that our planet has a finite amount of natural resources. We cannot destroy our waterways. We cannot destroy the ozone layer. We cannot use up all the coal and not establish other energy sources and all of these things. It's well known. We would all pretty much agree on this. And we would all agree, I hope, that we have an ethical responsibility to care for our environment. We need to do it for the people that are alive today, as well as future generations. And we have an obligation to choose practices that are not only ethical, but sustainable. So it goes without saying that the planet, is an important consideration, what long-term effects and short-term effects we're going to have. Now, it's the third P that holds the most interest to me, and that is profit. There was a time when managers were taught that their sole purpose was to maximize shareholder wealth through any means that was legal or even slightly on the gray side of legal, without actually breaking the law. And they were taught to kind of ignore areas like the people and the planet and the environment things, or if not ignore them, certainly not give them prime consideration when they were making decisions. The bottom line was profit was the most important factor when designing and implementing programs. However, both our management textbook and Dr. Cho and Dr. Lee make a convincing argument as to why that is no longer the case. Corporate social responsibility has an effect on profit, and it is a positive effect. Sales growth increases not only because of the patronage, but also simply because, well, actually it really is because of the patronage, but it is because people feel better about supporting something that is ethical. And sales growth can actually decrease if a company is perceived as committing something unethical or doing something illegal. And this is not a short-term decrease. It tends to be a little bit longer term and possibly completely a long-lasting tarnish to their image. Company revenues also increase with socially responsible management for two reasons. The first reason is that there is a reduction in employee fraud. Companies lose just enormous amounts of money every year to employee fraud, whether it's through stealing, through mismanagement, or some combination thereof. But studies show that employees that are in an ethically responsible environment tend to behave that way. They tend to steal less, they tend to be more invested, which is back to the corporate organizational behaviors. They are actually more vested, and this behavior long term actually increases the company revenue. It increases the bottom line. And the second thing that happens through this is, again, back to the people, but it is the increased patronage and the fact that people feel they are supporting something that is doing some good that increases sales. Stock prices also tend to rise when people are looking for companies to invest in. Studies show that at least 3/4 of them consider the ethical behavior of a company when they're trying to decide whether to invest or not. Profitability as a whole increases when a company is viewed as ethically and socially responsible. So what does all this mean for someone who's studying management? Managerial behavior is influenced by profit motivation, altruism, personal ethics, and individual personality traits. The results of Dr. Lee and Cho's study show that managerial efficiency, which they define as the degree of management's ability to generate revenue using a firm's revenue, when this ability, the managerial efficiency, is combined with the design and implementation of programs, the results are very positive. They further show that managers have a direct effect on the implementation of these socially responsible programs. An organization's management can help foster an environment that promotes ethical behavior. They can do this by establishing codes of ethics, and not only establishing them, but training employees in what is expected of them ethically within the company, and enforcing the codes of ethics. They also can reward ethical behavior as opposed to just focusing on things that are strictly profit only. Not just organizations benefit from this and from good, efficient management and effective management. Research shows that considering the 3 Ps, people, planet, and profit, are in an organization's best interest, and management would do well to be mindful of this when they are designing and implementing programs. But what happens if an organization doesn't practice socially responsible behavior? Let's examine 2 ongoing cases here in North Carolina. As a lifelong resident of North Carolina, these were 2 cases that actually caught my attention because they will or do have the potential to affect me directly. Both of these organizations are losing both financially and non-financially at this point. In 2017, WRAL, which is a Raleigh-based news station, reported that the State Department of Environmental Quality would be testing the Cape Fear River for a chemical compound named Gen X. This chemical has been found in the southeastern coastal water supply. The company, Chemours, attempted to remove the chemical from the water, but their practices are still under investigation. Not only did the leakage of this chemical affect their reputation, which was previously pretty good in the local community, they have also raised concerns of whether this chemical causes cancer and what the dangers are of having it in the water supply. They may also now face future governmental regulations of this chemical, which was previously non-regulated. And because it was non-regulated, they were being left, of course, to be responsible of their own, and their failure to do this has resulted in them now facing several lawsuits. They are also looking at the cost of cleanup and potential government fines. The second ongoing case in North Carolina began around 2017, I believe, and this involves Duke Energy. Duke Energy had 8 coal ash deposit places, or pits, if you will, where they store the toxic waste from the coal that they use to make energy. 39,000 tons of this toxic coal ash spilled into the Dan River, and it contaminated the local water supply. In an attempt to control public relations, Duke Energy has been providing bottled water to local residents whose wells have been contaminated, but even they say that's a short-term fix. And it really hasn't done much to improve the public perception of Duke Energy at this point. North Carolina legislators have since passed legislation that Duke Energy must clean up the spill, and they also have to remove all of their existing 8 ash pits. This is going to come as a considerable cost to them. And the case is also, in addition to attracting the attention of the North Carolina government, has attracted the attention of the federal government. And the Environmental Protection Agency is now investigating Duke Energy's handling of the situation. In 2018, the Insurance Journal reported that Duke Energy had agreed to pay $84,000 in penalties, and they are to continue to work on the cleanup. At this point, they're requesting that the legislative department allow them to slow down the process, but I am not aware of there being any agreement on that at this moment. Obviously, both of these organizations failed to consider the effects, or at least the long-term effects of their practices, and what would happen to both the people and the planet. But they also didn't weigh the long-term effect on their profits. In doing so, they have effectively decreased their profit, opened themselves to legal issues, and they are now facing further governmental regulations, which always come at an increased cost to businesses. Perhaps a socially responsible program could have helped prevent damage to all three, the people, the planet, and the profits, but now it's really too late to know. This research gave me greater insight to what organizations and managers need to consider when they're making decisions. As future management, we need to remember not only the benefits of being socially responsible, but what can happen if we fail to be responsible. We should always think about the combined effects of decisions on the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit. And as we move forward to a global economy, things will branch out even further from not just local, as the examples are that I gave you, but to global examples of what we can do to protect all 3. Thank you for joining me tonight.